Hello and welcome to this Airtime interview. My name is Sigita and I'm a member of the Airtime team. Today I have the pleasure of speaking to Temitayo Shittu from Nigeria as part of our special week dedicated to women in aviation. We hope you've been enjoying all of our activity focusing on the significant role women play in aviation. We know there is still a long way to go, but everyone at Airtime is committed to playing our part in promoting and encouraging equality across our sector. And Temitayo is a great example of someone who is furthering this work in Africa. Today, she's the head of product and marketing for Wakanow, Africa's largest online travel agency. And in the past, she has also worked for Travel Start, Arik Air, and as a corporate sales account manager for Virgin Atlantic. Temitayo has also volunteered as a mentor for the Women in Business program with the Cherie Blair Foundation for Women. Temitayo, thank you so much for joining Airtime today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
Great. Okay, so shall we start our interview by asking you to tell us how you came to join the aviation and travel industry and what were your first impressions?
Oh, okay. So how did I join the aviation and travel industry? There's a bit of a background and history to that. So my dad actually worked in British Caledonia when I was a child, and he subsequently worked for British Airways and had worked for Lufthansa airline as well. So I've always been like an industry baby. And because of that exposure to what my dad was doing when I was growing up, right from when I was in high school, I told everyone I wanted to work for an airline. I never had I didn't have any other career path. There was no backup plan. I wanted to work for an airline. And then when I said it to people when I was about maybe 12 years, so people go like, oh, you want to be a cabin crew or air hostess? I'm like, no, there's actually a commercial department. I wanted to work in marketing because my dad was a sales manager. So it's always been like a passion. Even when I was in university, my dissertation in university, my first degree, was actually promotional strategy of international airlines in the state in Nigeria. So it's always been something I wanted to do. I've always been fascinated by it. And, so here I am, how many years after?
Great. So it was like written in the stars, right?
It was.
Great. Well, the aviation sector itself has historically been known as a very male-dominated place, right? And
Yes.
Here you are having lots of experience and clearly you are very successful, but were you ever worried about being able to progress in the sector?
Yes, especially in the beginning stage. So I say this to a lot of people, and it's always my worry. When you start in the aviation, I don't know if this happens elsewhere, but in Nigeria, when you start off in ticketing and reservation, there's always that opportunity or that chance rather that you're going to get stuck in that line and there won't be any career progression. So maybe because I'd been aware of this early on, I quickly diverted into sales. So my first job was with Lufthansa German airline. And I was doing ticketing and reservation because I was straight out of college and all of it. So when there was an opening for sales, it started out as an inside salesperson. I quickly took the job. And subsequently, I became sales officer, for Lufthansa in Port Harcourt. So that was, for me, was the career path. Again, remember, my dad was sales manager. So in my head at the time, that was what I wanted to achieve. I wanted to be sales manager of an airline at some point. So I was really looking for the sales role, business development, marketing, anything that I could get my hands on. So I did that actually. And then I left the country and went off and did other stuff, which had nothing to do with aviation. Though I did work for EasyJet at Luton Airport for about a year for customer services. So after a while, I came back to Nigeria, having worked in other industries. And then I went away completely. And then after a while, I thought about it again. I miss traveling. I'll be honest. The part of the fascination with this industry is the fact that you get to see the world, really. And I really love that aspect of it. So I quickly retraced my step back to aviation. And then I got the job with Arik Air. And then I got the sales manager job that I've been looking for. So eventually I became sales manager for Arik. So that's how I found my pathway into aviation. But honestly, to the gender stuff, it is difficult. First of all, it is difficult to move away from ticketing and reservation to the commercial unit of any airline. A lot of times when they're looking for commercial people, they're looking for people with experience and not people with ticketing experience, people with actual sales or commercial experience from other industries whom they don't mind training. So not necessarily you that you're in there. Also, as a female, there's always a struggle. I mean, you can never take that away. You have to constantly prove yourself. There has to be, a work-life balance, because there's family, there's work, there's all of it. But in fairness to Nigeria, still, it's a level playing ground. If you put it in the work, they see that you're doing the work, then they give you the opportunity as well. At least that's my experience. Wherever I've been able to showcase what I have to offer in all of the jobs that I've done, there's never been any issue with them promoting me based on my gender. But you have to put in the work. They won't offer it to you on the platter of gold.
Great. So more or less, you saw all those examples that women are, it's easy for women to succeed in the same way you have, or maybe you saw some examples that somehow women leave the industry because they didn't think like they had the right kind of opportunities, maybe as you had.
Yes. That happens. But then I would say this, sometimes what happened to a lot of us, and not just women, a lot of us in this market, when we work is, especially, let me say from the airline perspective, when you're already comfortable in a job with an airline, we tend to not develop ourselves anymore. We don't go for extra certification. Oh, what's new out there? Oh, okay, NDC is out there. Oh, let's go learn NDC. Digital marketing is out there. Let's go learn digital marketing. Just sort of diversify and expand your horizon so that you're bringing in a new skill set. So it works for both genders. So a lot of times we're just comfortable. Oh, I'm doing sales. I've been doing sales the same way I have done it for the last 5 years, and I just keep doing that. But a lot of new things keep coming up, and you have to sort of change with the time. Personally, for me, I think that's been my own success story. I'm actually very adaptable, and I'm always willing to learn something new. I'm currently doing marketing now for Wakanow. And I mean, it's an OTA, meaning it's very heavy on digital marketing. If you look to my background before, there was never digital marketing in there. I did work for another OTA, but that was as an airline relationship person. So, but it's the ability to want to take on new challenges and also willing to learn and step out of your comfort zone. So we as women should always be willing to do that. Learning is a continuous experience. You should not stop, especially if you still want to be, in the industry. Keep learning, keep updating your skills.
Absolutely. Very well said. Going back to role models, you mentioned your father's figure, right? What kind of leaders you encountered in aviation and travel industry? And did you have also female role models as well as male role models?
In terms of role models, when I actually started off, my role model were predominantly male. My first job, I was actually the only female there in the office. But my mentor at the time was my manager, who was the sales manager for the Eastern region, Nigeria at the time. And a lot of the work ethics that I learned of him, I'll be honest. But when I started moving in my career, so a year into my working for Lufthansa, I then had the opportunity to go to the head office. A couple of months into it, actually, I went to the head office. And then I got there and discovered that most of the head of departments were females. So that was different for me. I lived in a smaller city. It's the oil and gas city, and I only had the male mentor. So I had the head of sales was female, marketing was sales, frequent flyer program was female. It was almost 80% female leadership. And then I was then opportunity to go for a course in Germany where I went with three of the leaders from the HQ, and those ones then became my mentor. So subsequently, these were the women I now looked up to. Again, he said to me then, probably subconsciously, I didn't think of it on the conscious level that, oh, okay, if these women can lead departments, that means it's easy. I can do it as well, really. And that's really been how I progressed. Till date, I still have some of the relationship. One of them is late, sadly, but these two other ladies, I would say, have got me to where I am. The fact that they were able to do it, I keep thinking, okay, I can. I definitely can.
Okay, great. Thank you. Could you now tell us a bit about the steps that you have taken in Nigeria to promote and encourage diversity and inclusion in your country?
So, this is always my belief. So to your question, what are the steps that I've taken to promote diversity in my country? I said this, no, you do not have to be in government or to be on the top of leadership for you to make change. Now, in your own space, you do have your own level of influence. And of course, if you're a manager or a leader, you do have people that you influence as well. What I try to do is to give back to women, which is how I ended up with Cherry Blair Women Foundation. And currently, I'm also a mentor for another foundation for women. I try to, within the aviation space, I try to mentor young women, especially those who are just starting out, to say, look, so now you're starting off in ticketing and reservation. This is not your goal. I do not want you sitting in this job for the next 10 years and you're just going from grade A to grade B and then being comfortable. The sky is your limit. I say that a lot. There's a lot you can do. Empower yourself, get different qualifications. I'm always about qualifications. I said to people a lot that minimum qualification you should get is once a year. If you can do more certification, fine. But if you can, have one certification a year and be varied in what you want to do. So this is what I say to the women that I mentor, and I do this actively. And it's just not in the aviation space. I try to speak to women who are entrepreneurs, who are trying to start up their own business. This is how you should do it. These are stuff that you can do. And also in Nigeria, we have some travel agencies that internationally you call them affiliates. We call them locally here sub-agents. So these are resellers of travel products for IATA agencies. So they don't have IATA, but they actually sell tickets and they sell packages. A lot of these people I mentor, they don't have the money to rent an office. They just have a laptop, they have access to the GDS, and then they have internet. So they work from home. So to these guys, what I say to them is there are ways where you can get exposure for your business. Don't just sit in the house, promoting to your family and friends. It has to be beyond that. And not your immediate family and friends. We go to church. We're very religious down here. Some people go to mosque. Those are all of the avenues that you can use to sort of expand, your customer base. And then the social media, just letting them know things that they can do to improve what they're currently doing. It's all about enhancement and improvement.
True. Now, going back a bit more on Cherry Blair Foundation, right? That is encouraging women in business. And how do you think, how important those roles are for the mentor and for the mentee?
It's for Cherry Blair mentorship program, both ways for the mentor and the mentee. It's actually very rewarding and it's very important. One party is giving, the other person is receiving. At least that's what we believe. But when you start the program, you actually realize that it's cross-functional, it's both ways. You're both learning, you're both receiving, you're both giving. So I was matched with someone in Rwanda, and I'm in Nigeria. And then what she was doing was fashion, but using the local African prints, to make clothes and other household stuff. So for once, I was exposed to Rwanda. I mean, it's Africa, but Africa is big. I never really knew anyone in Rwanda. So I got exposed to their culture. I got exposed to how business is actually done in that country, and then I got to know someone again. So there's a lot of learning experience, from the whole process. It's extremely important because it gives both parties different perspectives. There are things that the mentor would never have thought of or been exposed to that she will get from that relationship. And it's the same thing for the mentee. I think about maybe 6 months into our program, my mentee over there, actually, sorry, I have a cold. Sorry about that. She actually got some packages from Rwanda. So I got some beddings and some throw pillows and stuff like that, using their local materials, which was really nice. And I appreciated.
Great. So it's nice to hear that even mentors have something to learn from their mentees, not vice versa only, right?
Yes. Yes.
What would be your message for girls and young women in Africa or anywhere around the world who are keen to get into aviation sector?
So for young ladies who want to get into aviation, be it in Nigeria, Africa, anywhere in this continent, honestly, there are varied roles for you to come into. What I find is, from my own experience, there's a bit of limitation. People don't fully understand all the kind of roles and opportunities that you do have in aviation. So if you're technical minded, there are roles that would fit a technical person. Oh, are you into IT? We do have IT roles. Okay, you're commercial, marketing, sales. We have all of that. So sometimes, especially maybe from those in, let me say, the rural areas, or that are not so exposed, they don't fully appreciate or are not fully aware of the varied roles that we have in aviation. So I say to a lot of them, within aviation, you can be whoever you want to be, and you can do whatever you want to do. You want to be an engineer? Come, we have engineering roles. You want to be an IT person? We have IT roles. Whatever you want to do. Oh, people have digital marketing. Come, there's all sorts. There's so many things that you can do. Customer services, there's nothing you cannot find in aviation. And I let them know aviation is not just about airlines. This is way beyond airlines. We have the GDS, we have the travel agencies, we have all kinds. We have solution providers for aviation companies. So there's so many ways in which you can find your way into aviation. That I never ever forget to tell them. There's too many opportunities. So even for myself, when I don't like repetition, I easily get bored. Hence the reason why I've moved from the airline and now I'm in the travel agency. So if I get bored of a certain area of aviation, not a problem. You move into the other area of aviation. There's so much you can do and so much you can experience.
Great. So inspiring. I hope many young girls and young women are listening to us today to hear those words from you. Do you think girls nowadays have more opportunities comparing to the past, especially around some of the careers that have historically been seen as the exclusive domain of boys?
Definitely, I would say yes. Those careers that have usually been seen as more suited for the male gender, and I think the lines are blurred these days, honestly. You can only be held back if you choose to hold yourself back. I would say in Nigeria, we have 2 pilots under the age of 26, and this is not commercial pilot, they're actually military pilots. So one is a female pilot of fighter jets, and the other one is, I can't remember what it was, but two female pilots who achieved this feat before they were age 25. And so I'm using this as an example. This is actually military, which is usually tilted towards the male gender. And then these are also pilots, which usually are, okay, yes, it's like you have to be male to do this. And then these ladies are achieving this. And there's a lot of it around. And not to forget, most recently, we had a Nigerian, Ngozi Uwela, who is now the WTO president. She's first African, first female. So there's a lot of first of females happening everywhere. So women everywhere knows that you can be anything you want to be. Vice President of America is female. Who would have thought that was possible? And then she's even black. So as far as I'm concerned, you can only be held back if you let people hold you back. There's nothing that you cannot do if you put your mind to it. That those pockets of opportunities and niches that you can take advantage of. You can do whatever you want to do.
Well said. What would you like to see coming out of initiatives like Women in Aviation Week? Do you think enough is being done, or do we need more of such kind of initiatives, and maybe even more often?
There's not enough. It's good, and it's good at this moment. So I'm going to first appreciate what is currently being done for International Women's Day and for women in general. So all of the activities and everything activated yesterday, it's good. We like it. There's focus on women, and it's the entire week, so which is good. But we can certainly do more. There's still a lot more to do. There's still a lot of areas and a lot of people to reach. So we have to increase the tempo. We need to do a lot more. We need to.
Sure. Going back to your career, right? So during your time in aviation and travel sector, do you think enough has changed? And do you think aviation is still a male-dominated industry? Can we still call it like that?
I will speak to my experience in Nigeria. So to the question, is aviation still a male-dominated industry? Here in Nigeria, I'm going to say no. My current job, where 80% female in leadership. My previous job, we were about 90% female in leadership. Now, my job before that, which was Virgin as well, we were predominantly female. So if I'm going to reflect back on the last 10 years of my career, I have most places that I've been exposed to, women account for 60% of the leadership. So we're doing a pretty good job in Nigeria, at least. That's where I can speak to.
Great. Okay. And talking about airtime, we are launching a new behind-the-scenes news report about the first ever all-female crewed flight that took place in Afghanistan a couple of weeks ago. It included the very first Afghan-born female first officer, too. What are your thoughts hearing stories like that? Would you like to see more breakthroughs like this happening in Africa, too?
More. We need to hear more news of all female flights, predominantly female flights. We need the opportunities and for equal gender. But we do know that women have the short end of the stick when it comes to this industry, especially flying. So it's a good thing when we hear of, such things. I know that maybe a few years ago, a similar thing happened with Ethiopia, I believe, one of their flights to New York, I believe so. It's always good when we hear things like this. We need more of it. We need the exposure, we need the airtime, we need the publicity, the PR, everything. I like it. We need more of it.
Yeah. Hoping we will see more of breakthroughs like that more and more. If there was one more thing you could change in the aviation and travel industry, so that, for example, when you look back in 10 years' time and you could see this one major change, what would it be?
One major change. I will say this again from a local perspective. So I like to speak to my experience. What change would I like to see locally in Nigeria in aviation? I have noticed that a lot of people who start off their career in aviation, or let me speak to the ones that started off maybe in the 80s and the 90s, they tend to just progress from starting off in the airline, and then when they leave the airline, it seems like there's a bit of a struggle, almost as if the industry doesn't have any, would I call it aftercare plan, for retirees or people that have left the industry. There just seems to be a struggle, for them in a lot financially, what to do next when they leave. A couple of them would transform into travel agencies, but then sometimes they're not able to sustain it. So maybe this is a case of not, having updating yourself while you were still in the system. I don't know what it is, but I like a situation whereby ex-airline, aviation, travel agency employees, when they leave or when they have retired, they have access to good quality of life. I just don't see that at this point.
Thank you, Temitayo, so much. Now I have a little surprise for you. I would like to invite Airtime Chief Executive Richard Stevenson, and he has something important to say to you.
Temitayo, thank you for joining us at Airtime today and for sharing your thoughts during our special week dedicated to women in aviation. Listening to you speaking with Sigita, it is obvious to all of us just how passionate you are about these issues, about the future, about the opportunity, and about equality. And we want to acknowledge that, along with acknowledging the work you have done over many years to help and support others and to promote women in the aviation and travel sectors. For that reason, I am delighted to present you with one of the very first Aerotime Aviation Achievement Awards. This award is made by the Global Executive Committee of Aerotime, and this week is being presented to a number of women around the world who have demonstrated their commitment and determination to change the industry and to help and support others.
Thank you. I like to dance, so I'm dancing. Thank you. Wow. Thank you.
And I would like to read the citation. In recognition of her dedication and support for promoting diversity and inclusiveness across the aviation and travel sectors, for volunteering and mentoring and helping women to realise their potential, for her energy and commitment that has been devoted to this important work, the Aerotime Global Executive Committee recognises the positive influence of these efforts and for the significance of this work, both today and into the future. Temitayo, congratulations for being among the very first recipients of this award, and thank you for all that you do. I'm sorry that we cannot meet in person to hand this over, but I can assure you that this certificate and trophy will be winging its way to you in the very near future, and we hope that it will act as a constant reminder of the gratitude of so many people for your efforts over many years. Thank you.
Thank you. I am speechless. I'm hardly speechless, but I'm speechless. Thank you. Thank you. That's all I can say. I don't know what to say. Thank you. Thank you so much. This means a lot to me, actually. Thank you. My. That was a setup, but that was a nice setup. I didn't see that coming. Thank you.
It was supposed to be a surprise. I didn't want to spoil it. So
Yeah,
thank you, Richard. And Temitayo, congratulations once again for your award. Well deserved, well deserved. Thank you for joining us today. I've really enjoyed our conversation, and I feel really inspired by it, by everything you said about women in aviation and women in business in general. I can see how much energy you have, and I want to thank you for everything you are doing to help encourage women in Africa, and of course by doing things like this interview too, all around the world. We all want to see the aviation sector make further strides to become an ever more diverse and inclusive industry, and with people like you and some of other amazing women we have interviewed this week continuing your work, I know it will carry on changing. That brings us to the end of this Airtime interview. Don't forget to stay tuned to Airtime for more throughout our special week, recognizing and celebrating the contribution and success of women in our sector. I hope you all enjoy watching and reading the various articles and reports in the days ahead. My name is Sigita, and you've been watching Airtime. Goodbye.